Well, Mississippi State's got a few surprising advantages against Georgia on offense and defense. We'll tell you exactly what the Bulldogs can make this one interesting coming up next.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Jaron, Spor, National College Football writer at Athlon Sports. That's Landon McBride. We've got our preview show for you today. Just want to bring this up. I brought it up on yesterday's episode, put it out before. We do know about the video quality issue, and hopefully it's fixed. We should have a solution by later today if it's not fixed. Unfortunately, we don't know when we're recording. We don't find out until after it's over, because when we're recording, it looks great. So, yesterday. Well,
the joys of technology.
Yes. So, if it's not fixed, then we will definitely have it fixed by Monday, it sounds like. I guess you should never say definite, but hopefully we'll have it.
In theory.
But
it'll be fixed.
Yeah, in theory. In theory. All right, Landon, let's dive into Georgia's offense. What do they kind of present to the Mississippi State defense?
So they present a very good offense. Like, there's nothing that they do that just jumps out to you and goes, they're great at this, or this player is great at this. I mean, I guess they're great at not turning the ball over. I mean, They're very they're efficient and kind of like not that impressive, but still impressive, if that makes any sense. Like,
they're solid.
They're very good. Solid. There's nothing they do that wows you. And some of it has to do with Gunner Stockton. I mean, when he is on, he looks great, but then there are days where he's off and you don't know what you're getting with him.
Using him as the example for the offense is perfect, because it's literally, he is the perfect example of the offense. He's just a solid quarterback. They're just a solid offense. Yeah. Nothing else. I mean, they're just solid. Now, they have moments of being great. They have moments of being bad. And that's what a solid offense really is. No, he runs the show. He completes 70% of his passes, thrown for almost 1,800 yards. Only has 12 touchdowns and has 2 picks. Like you mentioned, he doesn't turn the ball over much. Chauncey Bowens is their lead runner. Nate Frazier's another one that they use quite a bit. Both are, Frazier's just under 400 yards and Bowens is over 400 yards. Bowens has 5 touchdowns.
Frazier has more carries. So
yes. And Gunner Stockton can also beat you on the ground. He has 290 yards. He has 7 touchdowns. So he's the guy that's punching it in for them most of the time. So those are the guys to kind of keep an eye on. Bowens is the one that put the Florida game away. He had that touchdown at the end to seal that victory for them. Where I think Mississippi State has the advantage is kind of 2 things. One, Georgia's offensive line isn't that impressive, so that doesn't hurt Mississippi State's defensive line not being great. But the other thing I think is Mississippi State's defensive backs should really dominate Georgia's receivers. Zachariah Branch, he's their everything pretty much. He has 45 catches, 474 yards, 2 touchdowns. Then the next guy drops to 23 catches. Now he has 336 yards and 1 touchdown. It's Colby Young. He's their big play guy. And then their touchdown guy is Lawson Lucky, the tight end. He's got 3 touchdowns. But Oscar Delp is kind of the tight end that everyone knows the most. 11, but he only has 11 catches, 158 yards. But Zachariah Branch, he's more known for his kick returning, but he's also a pretty good receiver. I just think that's where Mississippi State has the advantage, because Mississippi State's secondary, especially with Kelley Jones, which I saw another 2 stats about him this week, where he's like second in percentage, incompletion percentage, and the other one was like he leads the nation in breakups or something. I can't remember what the stat was, but yeah, he was 1 and 2 in those, and how he's not a Thorpe semifinalist is beyond me. But yeah, I think that's the advantage in the passing game.
Yeah, and that's something that we've come to see a lot this season. Usually the one advantage that we can count on that Mississippi State has that's going to keep them in some of these games is the secondary.
Which is the surprise.
That's what we were worried about coming in the season, and now it's what we're counting on. I mean, Kelley Jones has turned into one of the best corners, not just in this conference, in the country.
Yeah.
Isaac Smith is Isaac Smith. And the other side, Jaron Manning's played well. Still not sure exactly how much we're going to get of him. Then Brumfeld's played well on the opposite side. It's been really so the secondary's played great.
Lanier.
Lanier, big plays out of Lanier. It's been just very good play out of all of them. And the thing with Georgia is, yes, they haven't been great, but every one of these players has great talent on their offense. So you kind of have to keep it disjointed and not let the talented quarterback link up with the talented receiver. You have to make sure you cause a problem somewhere in between that and make them all individual talents, which we've seen that happen sometimes for full games, sometimes for a quarter or two where everything just seems a little off. And it's not like what we talked about with Texas, where if you pressure Arch Manning, he kind of seems to get a little jittery. There's no real formula that we've seen so far on what causes them to become disjointed. It's just kind of some days they are.
Well, I guess Georgia fans would tell you there is something, because they are totally out on Mike Bobo, the offensive coordinator.
Well, besides
have been for years. And so I remember I used to have to watch the Feinbaum show almost every day because I would write about his show and stuff he would say for Athlon Sports. I don't really do it as much anymore, but they had a caller on there, and I can see his face, and I can't think of his name, but he's a big Georgia fan. He's from Georgia, and he always called him Bobo the Bozo. That's what he always called him, Bobo the Bozo. So he was not a fan of Mike Bobo, but I think it's the criticism a little too much. They obviously had Todd Monken, who was really good, and then they and they want Bobo to be Todd Monken, and he's not. He's still a really good one, or at least a solid one. I don't know if I go really good, but he's at least a solid one. But yeah, I mean, you're right on with kind of how they fluctuate offensively. So the Tennessee game was the game that it was like, okay, because the first two games they didn't really play anyone, but they kind of struggled. But yeah, that Tennessee game was like, okay, offense is here. I mean, Gunner Stockton throws for 304 yards, 2 touchdowns, completes 74% of his passes, has an incredible touchdown on, I believe it was 4th down, that would tied the game at the end, and it was an incredible pass. But then he comes back the next week with 130 yards and a loss to Alabama. Then he goes for 196 against Kentucky, then 217 against Auburn. Then he has the 289 4-touchdown game against Ole Miss, completes 84% of his passes, and it's like, here he is again. And then last week, 223 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, did complete 69% of his passes against Florida. But it's just his performance kind of fluctuates, and that's why I said with the offense, you don't know what offense you're going to get because it's very similar to Stockton's play.
Yeah, it really is. It goes all over the place, and you just have to make sure you're in the right position to take advantage of the miscues. It's like even in the good games, there's been a couple like every offense, there's always a couple plays at least. And you have to make sure you're in the right position to take advantage of those miscues, whether there's 5 of them or 2 quarters of them. You have to be ready for it. And unfortunately, they're very solid. Even when they have the miscues and aren't firing on all cylinders, they're still a good team. That's kind of what makes it a frustrating, kind of hard offense to be like, well, this is how you stop them, because when they're on, I don't know if you do stop them. But exactly what the formula is to stop them, it's kind of just play solid and let them make the mistake.
Yeah, and I will say this, their run game is really good.
Yeah, they are very good.
Yeah, and it's funny because, like we mentioned, the running backs, there's not anyone that's like on track for 1,000 yards or anything like that. They're just very versatile with multiple running backs that do well. But I was looking at their stats. Only 2 games this year have they not ran for at least 180 yards. One of those was against Auburn, who shut them down, held them to 79 yards. And the other one was last week against Florida, where they ran for 138 yards, which is still pretty good. And I know a lot of people are going to think, oh, well, Florida's terrible. Auburn's not very good. So what happened? Auburn is very good defensively. I saw a stat, actually, I think it was before this past week, so I don't know if it still holds true, but I can't remember. I think it was before. Maybe it was after.
It was after.
So only 3 teams in the country, because I texted Landon this to see if I quizzed him on to see if he knew. Only 3 teams in the country had not allowed more than 24 points in the season, in a game this season, and it was Auburn, Ohio State, and Indiana. So Auburn gets a lot of flack for their record, rightfully so. But it was the offense, and that's why Hugh Freeze was fired, because he's supposed to be this offensive guru, and they're terrible offensively. But defensively, they've been very good. So if Mississippi State can control – yes, they do. And if Mississippi State can control the running game and put the pressure on Stockton now, he's proven to be able to have performances where he can carry an offense, but
Mm-hmm.
make him do that.
You have to make him do it. Yeah. Their run game, it's kind of weird because like we've mentioned with everything, they have a good running game. It's just they don't
Right.
have that one back that you're like, oh no, we have to stop him. We can't let him go for 200. It's just don't let the running game get going.
Yeah, it's weird, but it's very impressive because it's not like in 2017 it was when they had Chubb and Sony Michel, where you're just like, man, these two are just stars. They're going to be NFL players. Like, and I'm not saying that their guys won't be.
It's not even on
Yeah,
that.
and I'm not saying their guys now aren't going to be NFL players. I'm just saying those guys were like, man, they're going to be really good. Now, Michel ended up not being great in the NFL, had some good years, but Chubb has obviously been incredible before his injuries. That's not really what they are. They just have several really good running backs. And when you have that, you can be versatile and you can just ride the hot hand. And that's what they do.
Yeah, and it's the same thing along the offensive line. In most years, they have like the tackle that you hear about. Oh, this guy's going to be a top 20 pick.
Right.
Well, this year, you have a bunch of guys that have all the traits to be in the NFL, but haven't seemed to put it together yet. So it's kind of like there's no real weak spot, but there's no strong point either. It's just kind of good.
Right. Yeah, for sure. All right, coming up next, where does Mississippi State have an advantage offensively against Georgia's defense? We'll tell you about it. Well, it's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For Mississippi State, I'm going to go with two players. I'm going to kind of cheat here, but Blake Shapen and Anthony Evans. I think you have to intertwine the two. They delivered in a big, big way. Obviously, they have the game-winning touchdown pass. That was a game where Shapen obviously struggled early, gets injured. Kamario Taylor plays great. Shapen comes back in, immediately throws an interception that was to Evans that Evans should have caught. So both guys are just not having the games that would make you think that they're on the track to being named the MVP. And then, boom, when the game's on the line, Shapen finds Anthony Evans. Great pass. He does a great job breaking tackles to get to the end zone and win their first SEC game in 2 seasons. So I got to give that to both of them because they came through, no hesitation, no delay. If you've been watching week after week, the performance, especially of Anthony Evans, is no fluke. He's been amazing this year going against his former team this week, so we'll see what kind of performance he can have. But just like Blake Shapen and Anthony Evans delivered for Mississippi State, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. All right, Landon, where do they have the advantage on the defensive side of the ball?
So Georgia's defense,
offense, I guess. Georgia's defense.
What jumped out to me, you look at this defense, it's CJ Allen. Yeah. I mean, he is one of the best linebackers in college football. I mean, and you look across, if you ever sort their stats, what he leads in. Well, he's tied for the lead in sacks, leads them in tackles for loss, leads them in assisted tackles, total tackles, and is tied second in pass breakups. So,
and I think he's tied in sacks. I don't know if you mentioned sacks. I think he's tied for sacks.
Tied in sacks, tied third in pass. I mean, he is all over the field. So controlling him, and then their other sack leader is the other linebacker, Chris Cole, and he's number 2 in tackles for loss on their team. So it's really controlling those linebackers and not letting them have free runners to the quarterback, shots into the backfield to blow up, screen plays, swing passes, running plays, which comes down to controlling the defensive line because that's who's going to open up those holes for those guys to be able to run through like that.
Yeah, my question for you, Landon, obviously when we think of Georgia, you think of the defense, but what specifically do you think of when you think of Georgia on their defense?
Normally it's freakish pass rushers.
Right, just that defensive line.
Yeah.
You got some massive bodies on the defensive tackles, and then you got some physical and
one giant man at defensive tackle, and then a bunch of athletic freaks.
Yeah, you got Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, like you have those guys, and then you got Nolan Smith, and that's what you think of. I saw a stat 2 days ago. Do you know Georgia has the worst graded defensive line in the SEC?
I did.
I
That's
was
surprising.
shocked
That
hearing
is
that.
surprising.
And it was like 60 something like that. 62 was their grade. And it
That's
was
shocking.
bad.
But again, when you kind of dig into, where these guys play or whatever, you look and it's their top two guys are, in terms of sacks, are linebackers. So obviously, like the defensive line, while they may be getting there because of the defensive line, the defensive line is not the one racking up any kind of stats. So it kind of makes sense. And you look at where they're ranked and things, and it's just not the Georgia defense we've come to expect under Kirby Smart.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's my next question. Are they graded so low because they are playing that bad? Or are we grading them tougher because we know what Georgia typically is? Because I will say this. You mentioned the sacks, which, the linebackers are a big part of that, obviously. But their rush defense, they're 15th in rush defense.
Yeah.
And any defense that's 15th in rush defense, that's not just your linebackers. Your defensive line is having to control the game. And so that's why I'm like, you can't tell me they're the worst. Now, I don't think they're the best like they were, but I bet they're top 7 or 8 for sure. I just wonder if they're getting pushed down because of what their history says they are.
That could be some of it, but you and me have had a lot of conversation about I don't really trust those grades like that because I don't know who's grading them, and I need the same person to grade every player for them to have any kind of validity. But it's still wild, and I'm sure there is some bias going into it. Like we expect a higher level of them, so even if they are playing a little bit better than other teams, you're gonna ding them more because you expect, honestly, greatness. You expect a team that produces 2 first-round picks a year. I mean, 1 on this defense, if CJ Allen goes in the first, I mean, that's just not really what we're seeing.
Yeah, and this is another thing. You're right with the grading. It's tough. And you would have to know what is their job on that play.
Yes.
You would have to know the scheme. You'd have to know all this stuff to be able to grade them properly. JJ Watt talked about it. Where he was saying, like, that's the one thing, like, he mentioned Pro Football Focus. This wasn't Pro Football Focus, but he mentioned them, and he was like, they do a lot of great things, but I hate their player grades, because unless you are in those rooms, know their job, what they're assigned to do, there's no way you can properly grade them. And I agree with that. But I will say this, and this is a very weird stat I'm about to throw at you, because you would not think it. So I just said 15th in rush defense. How many tackles for loss do you think they have? Like, where do you think they're ranked? If they're that good in rush defense, they got to be pretty good at tackles for loss, you would think.
Well, I mean, I had it up how many they had, so I know how many they have on the season. But I would say they're probably ranked, 10th in the conference?
Well, I don't know where the exact – well, actually, I do. I do know where they are in the conference because they're 133rd nationally. They're second to last. Only UCLA's worst.
Right. Well,
so they're last in tackles for loss.
That's crazy. Maybe they're tackling for a lot of 1-yard gains.
Yeah. A lot of 1-yard or no-yard gains. I have never, ever seen that where a team is so highly ranked rush defense-wise, but it's not because they're driving people backwards.
This defense, it's almost like the offense, but even weirder because somehow they're still really good at everything, but when you look at statistically, you don't really understand why they're good. It's really hard because they don't turn people over a lot. They have 4 interceptions on the year.
Right.
So they're just knocking the ball down and tackling people for 2-yard gains, I guess.
Well, and then team sacks, we mentioned how the linebackers are leading them. They're tied for 129th. Also last in the SEC. And only UCLA is lower of Power 4 teams.
It's so weird, and it's even weirder.
Maybe they do deserve that ranking.
It's one of those things like this would be weird for any team. Yeah. It's weirder that it's Georgia.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to make of the defense because like I said, they're good. Like they're when you look at overall rankings on everything, they're like in whatever ranking, somewhere between like top 25 to top 50 and just about everything. Unless you start looking at stats like sacks, tackles for loss, interceptions, things like that, they're at the bottom. But all like the overall stat rankings, they're a good defense.
Yeah, and if you look at most of the teams that are up there in rush defense, like Oklahoma, for example, I think they're 9th in rush defense. Well, they're 1st in tackles for loss. They're 3rd in sacks. Like, usually they have all these stats with it, so it's weird. But I would say the advantage for Mississippi State, I know we're going long in the segment a little bit, but those stats just blew us away so much we started talking more Georgia, but we got to talk Mississippi State a little bit. I would say the one thing that I think Mississippi State has an advantage is a speed advantage. And that's why I think they can have success in the running game, because the thing that's hurt Mississippi State in the running game in the past has been the TFLs. But with that being said, I think Georgia will do a lot of things similar to what Arkansas just did, which Arkansas were selling out to stop and run. More importantly, on the RPOs or the read options, not the ones with the pass put in it, just the read options. We're going to sell out to stop Bothwell and Booth, and we're going to make Shapen run.
Yes. Yeah, I would expect to see a lot of that, and also done at a higher level, because Kirby smart, better defensive game planner, a little bit more talent on that. So just a little bit more talent on the Georgia defense than that Arkansas defense. But with that lack of tackles for loss, I mean, we've seen it. Booth is very shifty. Maybe he makes a couple people miss. Bothwell tends to run over people occasionally. So maybe there's some hidden yardage there that what Georgia has been getting, those 1, 2, 3 yard gains turn into 10-yard gains.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. All right, coming up next, in our next step in Starkville, we will give our picks for the game. Can the Bulldogs pull off the upset? We'll talk about that coming up next.
When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. If you need parts fast for a project, Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. The Part Finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. And their Trade Master perks, like priority shipping and dedicated support, make the whole process smoother. So join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated supply line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service.
All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. All right, Landon, what's your score prediction?
So this was a tough one to pick, because we've seen Mississippi State plays so many teams so close. I mean, outside of the A&M game, they've been right in every one down to the wire. And that one was close going into the fourth. But I think just because, I mean, maybe I'm giving Kirby Smart a little bit too much credit for how we've seen this team play this year, but he is one of the best defensive game planners in college football. And I think he's really going to build a good game plan that's going to give Mississippi State problems. I think it's going to be 35-21 Georgia.
Okay. I went back. You mentioned that Mississippi State played in a lot of close games. Obviously, the A&M one is the one that wasn't close, but that wasn't close in the fourth. Like, it was 14-3 going in the fourth. Offense was terrible in that game. Otherwise, that game might have changed how it ended. But I think A&M still would have won, but it could have been a closer game. But they were in every game. They've lost 2 overtime games. They're just, and that was something before the year. We wanted them to take the next step and be in every game, and that's basically what they've been. Georgia's also been in every game, meaning close games, because Tennessee was their first game in the SEC, 3-point win in overtime. Then they lose by 3 to Alabama. They do beat Kentucky by 21 points, but then they beat Auburn by 10. That was a game they should have been down 17-0 at half, but they had that controversial fumble toward the end. Then they beat Ole Miss by 8. They beat Florida by 4. If you take out the Kentucky game, I wrote a story about this. Their average margin of victory in the SEC is 3.7 points per game. It is. So they just don't blow people out. Now, with that being said, I think you're going to see a athletic mismatch in this game and a physical mismatch in this game. And before people freak out and like, oh, this can't happen and all this stuff, if you watch Vanderbilt and Texas, you saw the same thing. It was an athletic and physical mismatch. And Vanderbilt's a really good team. They were top 10 in the country. They were down big early, came back in that game, made it a game late. But that was a mismatch. And I think you'll see that too when you see this game. That doesn't mean they can't compete. I think they can compete, and especially with the speed they have. Anthony Evans is going to want to have a big game because of obviously playing at Georgia. I think that's where they're going to have success with the speed, because I worry about Mississippi State's offensive line just because of the physical mismatch.
Yep. So what's your pick?
Oh, man. I went back and forth on this one. I was trying to get away with not having to give it. I'm going to go with Georgia. I'm going to go with Georgia 30 and Mississippi State 20. So a 10-point win for the Bulldogs is what I think. And I could see this. I honestly think it could go one of two ways. I think it would either be really close the whole game, Georgia kind of pulls away late, or Georgia jumps up early and Mississippi State closes it late. I think it's probably the first, just because historically Georgia doesn't start fast.
No,
these last couple of years they haven't started fast. Now they've ended well. Like even the Ole Miss game, Ole Miss scores a touchdown on the first 5 possessions, but after that they don't do anything. So they just don't start fast. And Alabama was another one. Alabama jumped on them early because Georgia didn't start fast. And then by the time they made the run, it wasn't too late necessarily. They could have still tied it, but Alabama had a pretty good lead at that point. Yeah,
they've done that all year. And yeah, I think it'll be pretty close almost the whole game. And then Georgia kind of gets one more score at the end out of range. But I mean, I think we're just in for another. And yeah, I know I'm saying it. We're in for a dogfight. It's
you have to say it.
It's what it's going to be. And you mentioned there's going to be that physical mismatch, but I mean, we've seen plenty of teams over the years find ways to take advantage of or win in spite of that. I mean, Mike Leach built Texas Tech using speed over the mismatch. I mean, it happens all the time. So you just have to be aware of it and not be so proud to be like, hey, we're going to play our football. It has to be, hey, they're better than us at this. We're going to beat them this way.
Yeah, I mean, that does not mean you can't win. Vanderbilt is beating teams that are better physically and athletically than they are, and they've done it for 2 years. Indiana did the same thing last year. You know, you can definitely do it. I will say, I think, and people are going to come at me because they're going to take this quote out of context, I think Curt Cignetti has ruined college football. And the reason why I say that, it's nothing that he's done in terms of like in a negative way. It's because he's built that program in 2 years to having 2 great seasons. Everyone's like, well, if you don't have it done in 2 years, you can't do it. The amount of times I've seen people where I'm like, dude, they're only in year 2 or they're only in year 3. And he's like, well, Curt Cignetti did it. And I was like,
it's never been done.
You might be the only person who has ever done it. So
it's never been done.
Yeah. I mean, he is one of one. He is that good. And I love Steve Sarkisian's comments this week. I don't know if people saw them, but he was asked about all the job openings. And he said, hey, that's fine and dandy, but who are you going to hire? Because you better hire someone better. And a lot of these coaches are taken up. And so, take Penn State, for example. James Franklin was there for a while. He's routinely 9, 10, 11 win seasons. Yeah. Obviously, this year wasn't going to get it. But they were like, hey, you're not winning the big game. We're going to let you go. Well, when he got let go, number 1 option was Cignetti. Well, he signed a contract extension. Number 2 option was Matt Rule, which, hey, he can't win big games either. But, hey, signed a contract extension. And they were the top job. Well, now Florida's open. LSU's open. Auburn's open. So they're probably not going to get their top option, their secondary option, or maybe their 3rd, 4th, or 5th best option because of these other schools. So are they actually going to improve on James Franklin? Like that, you got to take that all into consideration.
Yeah, this next coaching cycle is going to be insane. Like it may actually be more entertaining than the college football season.
Yeah, I mean, it seriously might. And I saw some of the odds. I will say one of the odds was Drinkwitz going out to Penn State. I think that would be a solid hire. I mean, he's weird, but he's a great coach. So
yeah, hey,
that's a good job. Yeah, for sure. All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On SEC. Chris Gordy breaks down the best conference in college sports, from the rivalries to the championship and every game in between. Find Locked On SEC on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Jaron. Check out my work over at Athlon Sports. That's Landon. Follow us, Locked On Mississippi State. We're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Post daily videos Monday through Friday. Still don't have our site working to post, but I did see Locked On has still been posting for us, so thankful for that. We will have pre-post game show for tomorrow or video for tomorrow, so check that out as well. And until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.